With the draft taking place next week, there are several rumors around the Chicago Bulls. The most recent rumor is that they would be interested in trading for Clint Capela, who is the center for the Atlanta Hawks. We'll be talking about this possibility and if Clint Capela will be a good fit for the Chicago Bulls. This is Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. Before we jump into it, want to let you know that 75.9% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. Without further ado, let's jump into the topic of the day, which is Bulls trade for Clint Capela. All right, guys, and so there are reports, basically there's a tweet essentially that came out that says the Chicago Bulls are linked to getting Clint Capela. And Clint Capela is a steady center. Currently, right now, he's playing for the Atlanta Hawks. If you remember those Rockets days with James Harden there and those MVP days, Clint Capela was a terrific piece for them. He essentially was their big man. Everybody else was small or they played small ball. So, look, Clint Capela is a very solid player. And there's several questions to really ask ourselves if we're going with Clint Capela. And so let's first start off with, what has come up and what is, I guess, the rumor that is out there right now. And so this is NBA Central here, and it's saying that the Grizzlies, the Bulls, the Wizards, and the Pelicans are expected to show some interest in Clint Capela. And it says that the Hawks are expected to move off of Trae Young or DeJounte Murray, but not both of them. And Clint Capela seems to be a popular trade target for the teams that are mentioned here. And so, going into Clint Capela, like I said, he is a solid player. He's a very interesting player. And I think when I bring up the numbers, you're going to see he's a very steady player. Right now, I think he's averaging 11 points and 10 rebounds at this point in time. It should be noted that he is on the final year of his contract. I think he's right around like 22 million or something like that, which poses the first question about this, that if the Chicago Bulls are going to make this trade, is he going to be the starting center? Okay, because I don't see Clint Capela being traded to us and then he's coming off the bench. I just wouldn't see him coming off the bench. That's number one. Number two, if we were going to play him and Vooch together in some weird lineup, that's going to make it an interesting situation, I think, for Patrick Williams and that side, because now if you were to put, let's say, Clint Capela at the power forward and you were to put Vooch at the center, and this is just hypothetical, and then they were to go ahead and say, all right, that's our 5-4, then we're going to move Patrick Williams over to the 3. Now we're going to slide DeRozan up to the 2, and we're going to let Kobe run the 1. Then that's going to move Sumu back to the bench. And so that's why I said that that's going to be an interesting lineup, because now you're pushing one of your younger players and possibly a player that you're going to build around for the future back to the bench. Now, I'm not saying that Sumu wouldn't flourish in that role. I just don't know if I want to necessarily send him back to the bench. Now, the one thing that I will say about that possible lineup is that we've seen that the big mans are coming back in the league, all right? And so I'm not going to say that we have something like the Timberwolves in Rudy Gobert and Towns. I'm not willing to say that we have something, say like what Cleveland has with Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and they're big there. I'm not going to say that, but there is a path for two bigs to play and to be effective at this point in time, because I've always felt that if you are able to out-rebound teams, that is going to be a very good sign for you on even the offense or the defensive end. Like, I think that's going to push you in the right direction. I think one could say that when you look at the numbers, the Chicago Bulls struggled mightily there. The next thing with Clint Capela is I think that he brings a lot more rim protection than, say, a Vooch. And so, I think with him and his ability to block shots and affect shots, he's more athletic than Vooch. I think that he's more of the running big between the two. So I'd like to see that, especially if you put him in a lot of pick and roll action with Dosunmu coming downhill, and then also too with Kobe White. I think that that would be pretty interesting to me. So I think that that would be a great thing for us. And I just, he's not going to be able to sit out there and take 3-pointers, and not saying that we need a big that is going to take 3-pointers, but he does bring a dimension that Vooch doesn't bring, and that is going to be able to run the floor and also block shots. So I like that in those aspects. But, just with the fact that we're probably going to lose Drummond, just don't see Clint Capela coming off the bench, and I think that this is where it is going to become interesting with some of the other options that we have. Quickly just bringing up some of the numbers with Clint Capela. The one thing also to note here is that with the games played, he's been pretty solid. All right, 73, 65, 74, 63. Like, the guy is pretty durable, so that's a good thing there. Again, I just talked about how he had averaged the 11 and 10, so that's pretty solid with the points. And I think quiet as is kept, he was like 11th in field goal percentage, I think, as well. So he shoots a pretty good field goal percentage, right around 57%. And so that's one thing that you can also take away from Clint Capela, guys, is that Clint Capela knows where to be. Like, he knows his role. I think that that's a great thing about Clint Capela. We're never going to expect for him to step outside of his role. So I think that that's why he would probably be a great fit no matter how we play him. Again, I just don't think he's a bench player. And so that brings us to the next point, guys, that, if the Bulls do bring him over, right, and let's say, they still want to address the big, because I'm thinking you immediately move off of Vooch if you make this deal. And it is essentially a 1-year rental because it's an expiring contract. But I think that if the Bulls make this move, they have to move on from Vooch. And I still think that they can go out here and get a big man. I think that this draft is particularly the best draft to go out and get a big man at this point in time. And I want to clarify too about the bigs that we are possibly looking at, starting with, Zach Edey. And I like Zach Edey a lot because of the size. I love the fact that he has good interior scoring and a post presence, but remember, guys, the foot speed is not going to be there. It is going to be challenging probably for him to, maybe get up and down at the pace that we would like. Remember that we were one of the slowest paces in the league. But the one thing that he does bring is interior scoring, which is what we would not get from Vooch at this point in time. Next, when we talk about Clegan, we were talking about moving up for Clegan. I think that one of the main reasons why the Chicago Bulls would want to move up for Clegan is the fact that he is a pretty good rim protector, okay? I think that he is terrific with the off-ball defense. I think that that is right on par. His interior scoring it's okay. I like Edey's a little bit better because I think he's a little bit more accustomed to kind of getting in there, getting his bearings on the post, and then going to work. So I like him there. But both of those centers both have foot speed issues, right? So it's going to be a struggle for both because both are relatively slow and both do not stretch the floor as well. But I like where the Bulls would be going here because both of those bigs bring a dimension in which we do not get from Vooch, guys. And then that leads me to the last point. The more that I think about it, off of those two guys, I like Ware a lot. I do like Khalil Ware. I think that Khalil Ware is the guy that we should probably go after and target if we're going to the center position because he checks a lot of boxes. I think, one, he blocks shots well. Two, he's able to score and he does not need the point guard to necessarily activate his offense. So he's not point guard dependent or guard dependent, right? Like, you don't have to necessarily set him up for him to be a good scorer. He already can stretch the floor. That's a great thing as well. He's willing to go inside too. All right, so that's another thing. And again, he's going to run the floor, guys. That is music to the Chicago Bulls' ears because we played at one of the slowest paces in the league last year. So we need to get easier buckets here. So, with that being said, guys, I'm not necessarily sold on a Clint Capela deal because we would have to be giving up assets to get him. And the question is, what assets are we going to get? Or give, Atlanta at this point in time. Remember, Caruso supposedly is deemed as untradeable because we're trying to win games. So that I kind of think that cancels that out. Do I think Atlanta would take Lavine? No, I don't think that they would take Lavine. So I'm not sure what the trade package would look like to get Clint Capela over there, but I still think that maybe our best bet is to just trade Vooch and address the center in the draft. Go ahead and sign back that young man Sunoco and let that man play and let him be your backup center, guys. And I think that is probably the best way to go, guys. And lastly, before we jump out of here, guys, I know this really isn't relevant to the Chicago Bulls, but it is relevant to the Chicago Bulls. We talk about Billy Donovan a lot, and we talk about him playing young players. It's interesting to me, guys, that Billy Donovan is still the head coach when Monty Willams, a guy who has been in the NBA Finals, does not have a job in the NBA, guys. And so for the people out there that think that he would come to Chicago and necessarily fix everything that is going wrong with Chicago, I'm going to have to say that that's not accurate, because when we see what happened with that Caruso situation and the fact that management stepped in over AK to stop him from possibly trading off Caruso for some picks that would have possibly netted us in the top 10, guys. Like, there is no coaching fix for that. That is a management and like the way the Bulls operate as a system needs to be fixed, guys. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But what do you guys think in the comments? Should we go ahead and make the trade for Clint Capela, or are you with me and you think that, look, we need to focus our efforts on trading off Vooch, going out there and getting a young center like Ware or like an Edey or like Clegan, and then signing back Sunoco to go ahead and round out that backup center position, guys? So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Even though the draft is coming up, and even though we don't know what we are going to do as a franchise moving forward, we still have pieces that we have not traded. Can't make sense of it. I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.